shocking reveals, huge controversies, so much more coming up right here on The Ango Show. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget we got a giveaway at 100,000 subscribers. World Heavyweight Championship replica belt. Hey, we got to hit that. Make sure you click subscribe. Let's jump right into it. Rob Van Dam. Ladies and gentlemen, you know I often talk about backstage morale on this channel. Maybe you didn't realize this, but most of the times in the last year or two, there's been a lot of stories about backstage fights or bad backstage morale issues in AEW, and I discuss those, just as I have throughout the years with WWE. And when there's talks about good things happening backstage, I think it's equally as important to talk about those stories as well. And that's exactly what we're doing today, because Rob Van Dam has been talking incredibly positive about his experience in AEW. And I like what he's saying about AEW. He says a lot of the guys in AEW really went out of their way to make him feel appreciated and welcomed. And, you know, I wanted to read this for you guys. He says, there were a few particular guys who said, in regards to people being stoked for him, he says there was a few guys in particular who said that, and he'll always remember that because that stands out. It definitely puts me in a different perspective than in WWE, where I felt replaceable and expendable. I might be there next week. I might not. I never knew. I never knew if I was going to really be appreciated there or not, because there was so much balance of different energies conflicting. And I think this is a great thing for AEW. When you have somebody like Rob Van Dam, who is a legend in the business, coming out, and, you know, he's not necessarily signed to the company that we at least know about, but he's been featured in the company. He's going to be back in the company on April 20th, 420. And obviously for him to talk about this publicly on a podcast and just to talk about how he feels appreciated and just respected in general, it is nice. It's nice to see that there is a little bit more respect for people coming in backstage. It's nice to hear somebody speaking positively about the backstage environment, because if you've watched any of my previous videos where I talked about backstage morale in these companies, it's pretty evident that I say it often, hey, it's better to have a great workplace environment than a place that is not great to work at, right? And when more of the talk is about the bad things happening backstage than what is happening in the actual product, that takes away from the company and their potential growth. So obviously, when I hear Rob Van Dam talking positively about AEW, I think that's important. And then also just another really key important point to this entire topic is the fact that you got to understand that AEW has really done a good job with legends. Like they really do a good job of putting legends on TV and not necessarily hurting others or burying others because of it, which we all know the Vince McMahon regime did very terrible with. We saw Goldberg and so many other people come in and they get that massive match and they don't put people over, and then it was just a downfall. Terrible stuff. But anyways, good stuff for AEW here. Ladies and gentlemen, bad stuff for WWE. Not necessarily WWE, but there is a huge controversy surrounding Maxine Dupri. And I want to talk about this because I think this is absolutely ridiculous, the fact that it even has to be discussed. But there's a video that's going viral on Twitter from a house show. And essentially, Maxine Dupri had a match and she was getting booed because Maxine, as we all know, isn't a experienced wrestler. And I was watching this video, and I'm not going to play the clip or anything. I don't want to get copyright striked or anything like that, but I'm sure you guys could find it. I could put it, link in my Discord if you guys want to watch it. But there's this video floating around where people are just saying the absolute most harsh stuff ever to Maxine Dupri, because she is not a great wrestler. And I find it very fascinating that this has become the end-all be-all for a lot of people. I mean, first of all, if you watched NXT, Maxine Dupri was somebody who didn't wrestle as much. We all knew that Maxine Dupri basically rushed up to the main roster. She got rushed up to the main roster, did the stuff with LA Knight and Maximum Male Models. Then she's doing the stuff with, the Alpha Academy. And I think people need to understand, just because you're on TV doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a great wrestler. I also think it's absolutely atrocious, to be honest, that a lot of people who don't wrestle are so vocal about other people's wrestling skills. I have said this before. The reason why I don't talk about people being good or bad at wrestling is because at the end of the day, I'm not a wrestler. There's a lot of things I can do that I can certainly guarantee a lot of people can't do. But If they were to tell me that I suck at it, I would say, show me how you can do it. And the problem is, the reality is that they wouldn't be able to, because it's a lot easier, especially when you're on social media or going to these shows. It's very easy to go and chant and say all of these harsh things without any repercussions. But at the same time, too, you got to understand, Maxine Dupri is literally trying to just get better at wrestling. Now, Maxine Dupri does not need me to defend her at the end of the day. I just want to kind of point this out there, that a lot of people are using this as a way to push tribalism and to push so much more. And it's negativity and hatred in a way that I just don't really understand why. Now, at the end of the day, the way I look at it is Maxine Dupri, she's actually in a great situation, because you could play into the fact that she's not really a wrestler into her character. And WWE commentators have actually done that in the past, right? Where she botched a couple moves against Rhea Ripley, and it was like, well, yeah, hey, she's actually, this isn't her thing. It will be really amazing one day. If Maxine actually becomes like a really, really, really good pro wrestler, it's going to be amazing one day to see how the IWC will have to kind of shift their mindsets. But I just think it's ridiculous. And a lot of people are blaming WWE for putting her out there and stuff like that. Listen, it's all about working safe. If she ain't hurting people, she's learning on the job, and it's a house show, there's nothing to be worried about. Now, if Maxine Dupri was taking up pay-per-view slots or pay-per-view main events or main events at WrestleMania from somebody else, okay, I could understand a little bit as to why people would be upset. But these are house shows. It's just so ridiculous. Guys, you know what else is ridiculous? The fact that nobody predicted this. Shawn Spears is back in NXT. He returned yesterday night at NXT. He attacked Ridge Holland. He was the man behind the mystery vignettes, and this is the return that nobody guessed. I love it. Wrestling with legitimate shock factor is amazing, and WWE has been somehow pulling it off lately where you don't understand this stuff. Now, here's the thing. It's also really funny when I see the internet talk about this, because a lot of people are going to sit here and just do the tribalism stuff instead of actually talking about what's important. What's important is Shawn Spears went into AEW, was very, very, very hot at the start, and then obviously things fell apart. Now he's back in WWE. Shawn Spears is a longtime veteran. Shawn Spears is a very good asset to AEW or WWE, regardless of what is being told on the screen. Regardless if Tony Khan, Triple H, Shawn Michaels are putting him on TV, we know that Shawn Spears is good. We know that mindset and that experience is going to be beneficial to other people in the locker room. AEW and Shawn Spears are not together. I am not going to sit here and say, oh, that is a terrible L for AEW. I thought AEW presented Shawn Spears way better than WWE ever did as Ty Dillinger. I was there for his AEW debut. I thought the package, the entrance, everything was absolutely sick. So as you can imagine, that is why I'm happy that he is going to be in NXT with this gimmick. Why? NXT is one of the most consistent storytelling-based episodic TV shows in pro wrestling today. You don't have to like NXT, but you can't argue with that fact. So Shawn Spears is in NXT with the name Shawn Spears, and it looks like he's bringing the chairman gimmick to the company. And I love it. I think it's great. Meltzer didn't report it. Shawn didn't report it. Nobody reported it. And sometimes wrestling is just a lot more fun that way. I think this is going to be great stuff. For a lot of people pushing the tribalism, oh, AEW got Mercedes, WWE got Shawn Spears. I think you're just a freaking dickhead, to be honest with you. And at that point, I'm going to just leave it at this. This is good for wrestling. Guys and girls going back and forth to these companies, being able to have a job is fantastic for the industry. And for Shawn Spears, I don't know what his plans are for wrestling in WWE, but for Shawn Spears, if they want a coach or a producer or an agent after he's done wrestling, bro, they got a good one. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the return nobody saw coming. What do you think? Let me know down below.